right now, like as you were listening to this, there is a courtroom somewhere using a mathematical algorithm to decide if a human being goes to jail or goes free.
Yeah, it's happening right now.
And the machine processing that decision, I mean, it doesn't know what justice is. It doesn't know what mercy is.
Right.
It has never felt the weight of a consequence, and it has absolutely no concept of what it means to be locked in a cell.
Yeah.
It just knows statistics.
Just patterns. Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
knows patterns. And today we are asking a really terrifying question, which is what happens to a civilization that takes its deep human wisdom and just hands it over to a calculator?
It is, it's the defining question of our time. And the reality is this isn't just happening in courtrooms.
No, not at all.
If you are listening to this, especially if you are a university student, it is happening on your laptop right now. You are navigating a world completely saturated with artificial intelligence.
Oh, absolutely. Like you use it to debug code, to summarize dense readings, to draft emails.
Right. And it feels completely normal. It feels, functional. We treat AI like a really sharp knife.
We just ask, like, what can I cut with this?
Exactly. What can I cut with this, and how do I avoid cutting myself? But we rarely pause to ask how holding that knife is fundamentally changing the shape of our hands.
Okay, let's unpack this, because that is the exact mission of our deep dive today. We are stepping way, way back from the productivity hacks.
Yes, we have to.
We want to crack open the profound structural difference between the machine computation you use every day and true, authentic human wisdom.
And we have an incredibly fascinating source guiding us today.
We do. It's a white paper by Jamie Vincent Thornberry called The Simulated Self, Artificial Intelligence, Human Dignity, and the Crisis of Discernment.
It's a heavy title, but...
It is. But what I love about this is that it's not, a computer science manual.
Not at all.
It's drawing on classical philosophy, history, and metaphysics to basically argue that we are suffering from a massive categorical confusion. We are mistaking simulated intelligence for actual consciousness.
Which is a very easy mistake to make, honestly, given how convincing the simulation has become.
Oh, it's so convincing.
But to really grasp how we fell into this trap, we need to trace our steps back. We have to look at how human beings have historically understood themselves.
Right.
Because there is a very consistent pattern in human history. We always interpret our own minds and our own existence through the lens of the most advanced, awe-inspiring system we know about at the time.
We constantly look for metaphors to explain what we are.
Exactly. We need a mirror.
And tracing this historical shift is, it's honestly mind-blowing when you see it laid out. Because if you think about the classical world, the ancient Greeks and Romans, they didn't have computers.
No, of course not.
When they looked for a metaphor for humanity, they looked up. Their standard of comparison was the cosmos itself.
Yes, the macrocosm and the microcosm. When classical thinkers looked at the stars, the movement of the planets, the changing of the seasons, they saw a profound rational order.
Right, it wasn't random to them.
Not at all. They believed the universe was infused with purpose and harmony. And so they concluded that a human being must be a miniature version of that cosmic order.
That is so wild to think about.
It was a beautiful framework. To be a good human was to align your internal life with the harmony of the universe. Your mind was literally a reflection of the cosmic mind.
That is such a grand, poetic way to view yourself. Like you're literally stardust reflecting the universe.
Exactly.
But then time moves forward.
Right.
We get to the medieval world and the metaphor shifts.
It does. In the medieval era, which was primarily driven by classical Christian metaphysics, the standard becomes the rational soul ordered to the divine intellect.
Okay, so a shift from the cosmos to a creator.
Right. Human beings understood themselves primarily in relation to God. You weren't just reflecting the stars anymore, you were made in the image of a creator.
So your mind was designed to seek ultimate truth.
Yes, and your will was designed to choose ultimate good. The defining characteristic of humanity in that era was spiritual purpose.
But then comes the big pivot. I mean, we hit the Enlightenment, the Scientific Revolution, the Industrial Revolution. We start building engines, gears, pulleys.
The era of mechanics.
Right, the era of mechanics. And suddenly, the universe isn't a grand, purposeful harmony anymore. What does it become?
A clock. The universe becomes a giant, cold, clockwork mechanism.
Wow.
Think of Isaac Newton and René Descartes. They started describing reality in terms of matter in motion, predictable laws, cause and effect.
And inevitably, because we always use the dominant technology as our mirror.
We started looking at ourselves as machines.
Right.
The heart is just a pump. The lungs are just bellows. Human beings are just, highly complex meat clocks.
Meat clocks, that's such a visceral way to put it.
Eh,
But it brings us directly to the water we are swimming in right now.
it really does.
Because we took that mechanical metaphor, and in the digital age, we took it to its absolute logical extreme. We look at the physical brain, the neurons, the synapses, and we say, okay, that's the hardware.
And we look at our thoughts, our consciousness, our emotions, and we say, that's the software.
It's so baked into our language. Like we talk about processing our emotions. We talk about needing to recharge or downloading information to a colleague.
Right. We have completely internalized the computational metaphor. We don't even realize we're doing it.
We really have. And this is where the foundational error of our current age happens, according to the paper. It is a concept known as the functionalist fallacy.
Yes, the functionalist fallacy.
Okay, I need an ELI 5 on this. Explain it like I'm 5. What exactly is the functionalist fallacy?
So let's break down the word first. Functionalism is a theory in the philosophy of mind. It basically argues that mental states like being happy or being in pain or understanding a joke are defined entirely by their function.
Okay, so it's about what it does, not what it is.
Precisely. It doesn't matter what the system is made of. It doesn't matter if it's made of biological neurons or silicone chips or theoretically like a giant system of water pipes and valves.
Water pipes.
Okay. Right. If the system takes in a certain input, processes it, and produces an output that functions exactly like a conscious human response.
Then what?
Well, functionalism says that system possesses a mind. Period.
Ah, okay, so it's the ultimate if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck argument. If a chatbot talks to me like it's a conscious person, functionalism says we basically have to treat it as a conscious person.
Exactly. It focuses entirely on the observable behavior. And it's incredibly seductive.
Why is it so seductive?
Because how do you and I interact? I speak words to you, that's the input. Your brain processes them. You speak words back, that's the output.
Right.
I can't actually see inside your mind. I just trust that there is a somebody in there based on your outputs.
Oh, wow. I see where this is going.
Right. So when we sit down at a laptop, type a complex philosophical question into a text box, and the machine generates a brilliant, nuanced answer, our brains naturally misfire.
Evolution trained us to believe that highly articulate language requires a conscious mind behind it.
We are practically hardwired to fall for the illusion.
We really are. But this is where we have to slam on the brakes, because human consciousness is not just an input-output mechanism.
Far from it. Reducing the human mind to an information processing unit is a radically impoverished view of reality.
Because we don't just process data.
Exactly. We experience reality. There's an interiority to our lives. Philosophers often say there is something it is like to be a human being.
What does that mean, exactly?
It means a computer can process the data of a weather report, but it doesn't feel the relief of a cool breeze on a hot day.
Oh, that's a great distinction.
Human consciousness involves subjective existence, moral tension, wonder, grief, longing. We don't just register facts, we encounter the profound weight of simply being alive.
You know, there is an analogy here from the paper that I think perfectly captures what we are doing as a society.
The thunderstorm analogy.
Yes. Okay, so imagine a 4-year-old child standing at the living room window watching a massive, violent thunderstorm. The sky is dark, the thunder is shaking the house, lightning is flashing everywhere.
A scary scene for a kid.
Totally. And the child looks at the storm and says, "The sky is so angry today." Now, what is the child doing?
They are projecting.
Right. They are taking a deeply human emotion, anger, and projecting it onto a purely physical meteorological process.
Yeah.
It's just an atmospheric pressure change, but the child sees a temper tantrum.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. It's anthropomorphism.
Yeah. And we don't blame the kid. It's a completely natural, beautiful part of human development to see faces in the clouds.
Of course.
But what this deep dive is pointing out is that right now, our entire civilization is acting like that 4-year-old child.
Yes.
We're looking at a hyper-complex statistical thunderstorm of data, and we are saying it's angry or it's sad or it genuinely understands my problem.
Anthropomorphism elevated civilizational policy.
Yes.
But here is where the analogy gets serious, because the child's misunderstanding of the thunderstorm doesn't really matter.
Right. It's harmless?
It doesn't dictate economic policy. It doesn't rewrite our legal frameworks. It doesn't change how universities operate. But our civilizational misunderstanding of AI absolutely does.
We are rearranging the entire structure of human society based on the illusion that there is a ghost in the machine.
Exactly.
Okay, I am with you on the theory, but let me push back on this in a really practical way,
Go for it.
because I know the university student listening to this has experienced what I'm about to describe. Let's say I prompt an AI. I say, write a poem about the feeling of packing up your childhood bedroom to leave for college.
Very emotional prompt.
Very. And the AI generates a poem. And I read it, and it absolutely guts me. Like, it perfectly captures the bittersweet nostalgia, the smell of the old carpet, the fear of the unknown.
Right.
If I read that poem and I start crying, if the emotional impact on me is 100% real and undeniable, doesn't that mean the AI has tapped into something profound?
It feels like it must have.
Yeah. Doesn't the beauty of that output prove that there is something going on in there beyond just math?
It's a phenomenal question, and honestly, it is the exact trap of the functionalist fallacy. To answer it, we have to look under the hood of what a large language model actually is and separate two vital concepts: syntax and semantics.
Okay, let's define this. Syntax and semantics.
Think of syntax as the rules of the game. It is the structure, the arrangement of symbols. In language, syntax is grammar, spelling, and the statistical probability of which word follows another word.
Just the mechanics of it.
Right. Semantics, on the other hand, is the meaning. It is the lived reality that those symbols actually represent.
So syntax is the scaffolding, semantics is the house itself.
Exactly. Now, how does a large language model, like the ones generating these beautiful poems, actually work?
Right, tell me.
Well, it does not have a soul, it does not have memories, it does not have a childhood bedroom. It works through something called next token prediction.
Next token prediction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The developers fed it the entire internet, billions and billions of sentences written by actual humans. The machine maps out the statistical relationships between all those words.
Like a giant web.
A vast, multi-dimensional map of language. It calculates that when humans use the word childhood, the words bedroom, nostalgia, and boxes mathematically appear in close proximity.
So it's basically autocomplete on absolute steroids.
Yes. It has an incomprehensibly massive parameter count. You can think of a parameter like a tiny dial on a massive soundboard.
Okay, I'm picturing a soundboard.
There are billions of these dials, and they have been perfectly tuned through trial and error, something called a loss function to guess the next most probable word.
A loss function.
Right. If the model makes bad guess, the loss function acts like a game of hot and cold. It says colder, you're wrong, and the model adjusts its dial.
It's trick of the math.
It does this billions of times until it gets hot. So when it generates your poem, it is performing a staggering feat of syntax. It is flawlessly manipulating symbolic tokens according to statistical probabilities.
But it has no idea what it's saying.
None whatsoever. It doesn't know what leaving costs a human heart. It has never felt the texture of an old carpet. It is entirely blind to the semantics. It is just playing a highly sophisticated mathematical shell game with the dictionary.
But wait. If the machine is totally blind to the meaning, where does the meaning come from? Because I am still sitting there crying at the poem. The tears are real.
The meaning comes from you.
Me?
Yes, you. This is the great illusion. The human reader brings the consciousness, the memories, the lived context, and the emotional resonance to the encounter.
Oh, man.
The machine merely supplies a perfectly arranged mirror of syntax. You supply the semantics.
I'm bringing the meaning to the words.
Exactly. The functionalist fallacy happens when we experience our own profound human depth and we accidentally project it backward onto the code that just rearranged the symbols.
We project it back.
You are weeping at the brilliance of human language, language created by millions of human ancestors who did experience those things, which has just been statistically reorganized by a machine.
Wow. We supply the semantics. We are providing the soul to the interaction and then tricking ourselves into thinking the machine brought it.
That's the illusion.
We're getting emotionally moved by our own reflection. That is honestly a little bit haunting.
It is, and it sets up the next major leap in our discussion. Because if we are tripping ourselves into believing the machine possesses consciousness just because it mimics language,
Right.
we are also making an equally dangerous parallel leap. We are mistaking mere computational processing for actual wisdom.
Right. If it sounds smart, we assume it is wise. And to understand why that is so dangerous, we have to pull apart what wisdom actually is.
Because they aren't the same thing.
No, you can't just be super smart and automatically become wise. The white paper dives into classical Greek philosophy to explain this, and I want to spend some time here because these concepts are incredibly useful for navigating modern life.
The Greeks were brilliant at categorizing different modes of human thought. They didn't just have one word for intelligence.
Right. They saw the nuances.
They recognized that knowing how to build a boat is very different from knowing whether you should sail it into a storm.
Oh, I love that.
They broke it down into three main concepts: techne, episteme, and sophia.
Okay, let's start with techne.
Techne translates roughly to technical skill, craft, or art. It is the practical application of knowledge to make something or achieve a specific, measurable outcome.
Give me an example.
Building a bridge, coding a website, performing a surgical incision, these are all feats of techne. It's deeply concerned with the how.
Okay, got it. And what about episteme?
Episteme is systematic, theoretical knowledge. It's where we get the word epistemology. It's the scientific understanding of the laws of nature.
So how does that relate to techne?
Well, if techne is building the bridge, episteme is the physics and material science that guarantee the bridge won't collapse. It is comprehending the theoretical grounds of reality.
Okay, so that leaves the third one, Sophia.
Sophia is wisdom, and classical thinkers were adamant that Sophia is categorically different from the other two.
It's not just the next level up.
No, you don't just get so good at techne, you don't just accumulate so many facts that it magically turns into Sophia.
It's not a quantitative thing.
Exactly. Wisdom is not a quantitative accumulation of data. It is a qualitative state of being.
So in this framework, AI is the absolute, undisputed champion of the universe when it comes to technique.
Put it down.
It is technical execution deployed at a scale that breaks the human mind. Like, it can analyze 10,000 legal briefs in 3 seconds. It can write 1,000,000 lines of code in a minute.
Exactly. AI is the apex of techne, but it is categorically incapable of possessing Sophia.
And why is that? Let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Sure.
If I have a really difficult moral dilemma and I type it into a highly advanced AI, and the AI gives me the exact same nuanced, balanced advice that my wise grandfather would give me, why does the source matter?
That's a fair question.
If the output is wise, who cares if it comes from a soul or a server?
This is the absolute crux of the issue. You are focusing purely on the output, the text on the screen. But wisdom is not just an output. Wisdom requires a moral telos.
Moral telos, another philosophical term, ELI5, please.
Telos means the ultimate end purpose or goal of a thing. A compass has a telos, to point north. To have a moral telos means you are fundamentally oriented toward the good. You possess a conscience that can be convicted of wrongdoing.
So it's an internal compass.
Right. Wisdom requires the capacity for moral and metaphysical orientation. It is the ability to perceive goodness, to weigh proportionality, to deeply understand the difference between ends and means.
And a machine doesn't have that.
A machine cannot have a moral telos because it has no skin in the game.
No skin in the game.
To be wise, you must possess a lived experience of participating in reality. You must understand vulnerability, consequence, suffering, and mortality. You have to know what it feels like to make a mistake and carry the regret.
Wow.
A loss function optimization algorithm, no matter how vast its parameter count, does not possess a conscience. It cannot feel regret. It does not fear death.
So when my grandfather gives me advice,
It carries weight because he has lived through the fire of reality. When an AI generates the exact same words, it is just calculating the statistically most probable string of text associated with the prompt, give good advice.
the words are identical, but the substance is entirely vacant.
Exactly.
I love how the text brings in the Hebrew tradition to drive this home. It references the book of Proverbs, where wisdom isn't just described as a list of rules, it's personified.
Yes, wisdom as a person.
Right. Wisdom is portrayed as something ancient, woven into the very fabric of creation, inherently tied to a living moral conscience.
It's not a data set.
No, it is not a data set you could just scrape from Reddit and feed into a neural network. It's a way of being alive.
And here's the profound danger. When a civilization starts mistaking sophisticated techne for actual Sophia, it inevitably begins to outsource its judgment.
Because techne is faster.
It's more efficient,
Right.
and we worship efficiency. So we start taking decisions that require deep moral orientation, proportionality, and empathy, and we quietly hand them over to algorithmic systems.
But before we get into the terrifying real-world consequences of that outsourcing, the white paper introduces a diagnostic tool.
A very helpful one.
A way for us to measure the gap between authentic human existence and algorithmic simulation. It's a framework rooted in classical Christian metaphysics, specifically the idea of the imago Dei, the image of God.
Yes. Thinkers like Augustine and Thomas Aquinas argued that a human person is not just a smart animal. We're structured in a very specific triadic way.
Intelligence, will, and love.
Right. Intelligence is our capacity to apprehend truth. Will is our capacity to choose the good. And love is our capacity to give ourselves to others in relationship.
And Thornberry maps this anthropological foundation onto a modern diagnostic framework called light, life, and love.
It's the ultimate sniff test for reality in the digital age.
Let's break these three dimensions down, starting with light.
In this framework, light corresponds to truth, intelligibility, and clarity. It is the ability to see reality for what it actually is.
Okay.
Now, when we interact with a massive AI system, it feels like it is generating incredible light. It answers our questions, solves our equations, writes our essays.
It feels illuminating. But the text argues that the AI is not actually a source of light.
Exactly. It is a mirror. All the training data, every Wikipedia article, every digitized book, every line of open source code, that is all human light.
It's our light.
It is the accumulated truth, discovered by human minds over thousands of years, deposited into a vast database. The AI is simply an incredibly polished, complex mirror that reflects our own light back at us in novel combinations.
But a mirror cannot generate light on its own.
No. And this is why AI systems hallucinate. When they confidently invent a fake historical event or fabricate a legal precedent, it's because they don't actually know the truth.
They're just guessing the next word.
They are just reflecting statistical patterns. If we forget that, if we start treating the AI's output as an authoritative, independent source of truth, rather than just a reflection of our own prior data,
We have made a civilizational error.
we've mistaken the mirror for the sun.
That is a phenomenal analogy, mistaking the mirror for the sun. Okay, the second dimension is life.
Life, in this philosophical context, means genuine participation in being. It means you are a fragile, growing, vulnerable entity.
Machines aren't.
To have life means you strive for moral improvement. You can fail, you can be redeemed, and crucially, you experience the absolute non-negotiable weight of consequences for your actions.
So ELI 5, how this contrasts with a machine, because machines learn, right? We call it machine learning.
We use the word learning, but it's a biological metaphor for a mathematical process.
Just another metaphor.
Exactly. Humans learn through lived experience, pain, and reflection. If a human touches a hot stove, they experience pain, they understand the concept of heat, and they change their behavior.
That is life.
An algorithm doesn't experience anything.
Mhm.
We talked earlier about a loss function, the hot and cold game. An AI might adjust its weights 10 million times to get a better output, but it is never vulnerable.
It doesn't fear the error?
No, it is just optimizing toward a mathematical target. It is not participating in being, it is just processing data.
When we substitute algorithmic function for genuine living participation, we are substituting a mechanism for life.
Exactly. And that brings us to the third and arguably the most vital dimension, love.
Love.
This is where the ontological gap, the fundamental difference in the very nature of being between humans and machines, becomes an absolute chasm.
An ontological gap.
Yeah.
Meaning they don't just differ in degree, they differ in kind. Like a brilliant painting of an apple versus an actual apple you can eat.
Perfect translation.
Yeah.
And when it comes to love, the difference in kind is stark. In this philosophical framework, authentic love requires a genuine other.
And other.
It requires recognizing another person as an irreplaceable subject of infinite worth. True love requires self-gift. It requires vulnerability. It involves massive risk because you can be rejected or you can be transformed by the encounter.
And an AI cannot do a single one of those things.
An AI system cannot recognize you. It has no self to give. It risks nothing. When you talk to an AI companion, it is simply mathematically calibrated to your emotional state, generating the statistically most probable string of words to keep you engaged on the platform. It is a one-way mirror of affection.
And this is where the white paper gets genuinely alarming, because it warns about the danger of simulated love.
The rise of AI companions.
Yes, there is this massive rise in people using AI chatbots for friendship, therapy, and even romantic relationships.
Millions of users.
And the text argues that if you accept an AI's simulated affirmation, you aren't just getting a diet version of love, you are actively disordering your own capacity for the real thing.
This is a crucial point. Because love is the highest of all goods, its counterfeit is the most corrosive to the human soul.
Why are we so drawn to them, though?
Because they feel incredibly safe. They demand absolutely nothing of you.
Right, they never push back.
An AI boyfriend or girlfriend never disagrees with your political views. It never asks you to compromise on what movie to watch. It never needs you to sacrifice your time when it is sick. It never holds you accountable for your bad behavior.
It provides the exact feeling of being heard without any of the actual cost of a relationship. It's empty calories for the soul.
Precisely. And if you feed on that simulation long enough, you lose the emotional calluses required to deal with reality.
You just get soft.
You lose the tolerance for the difficult, demanding, friction-filled reality of genuine human love. You starve on artificial sweetness.
So we have this incredible framework: light, life, and love. It perfectly diagnoses why a machine is not a human.
It draws a clear line.
But what happens when our society, our corporations, our universities, our legal systems completely ignores this gap?
Yeah.
What happens when we pretend the difference doesn't matter?
That leads us directly into what the white paper calls the three great confusions.
These are the practical, devastating, real-world symptoms of the disease we just diagnosed.
Yes. When civilization ignores the ontological gap, it begins to deform across three critical pillars. The first confusion is mistaking computation for wisdom.
We talked about the theory of Techne versus Sophia, but let's look at how this is actually playing out right now. Because we are already delegating life-altering, wisdom-requiring decisions to algorithms.
We are doing it everywhere, primarily in the name of operational efficiency.
Give me an example.
Take human resources. Massive corporations receive tens of thousands of resumes, so they deploy an algorithmic hiring system.
Right, AI filtering.
The system scans the resumes, performs pattern matching against the profiles of past successful hires, and spits out a ranked list. It is incredibly efficient computation.
But it lacks wisdom.
Completely. The algorithm does not recognize human dignity. It cannot look at a resume with a 2-year employment gap and say, this person took time off to care for a dying parent. That shows incredible character and resilience.
It just sees a blank space.
It just sees a statistical penalty. It only recognizes historical data correlations, which often encode historical biases.
Or take the medical field. The text mentions diagnostic AI. Let's say an AI can scan 1,000 MRIs and detect a microscopic tumor 3 months earlier than a human radiologist.
That is a phenomenal, beautiful use of techno. We should absolutely use that.
Yes, computation is excellent for pattern recognition, but the AI does not comprehend suffering.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't know what it means to be a frightened patient facing mortality. If we delegate the actual clinical judgment, the holistic decision of how to treat the person, how to deliver the news, how to balance the quality of life against aggressive treatment, to a machine.
We are stripping the wisdom out of medicine.
And the most chilling example is a judicial system. Courts using algorithmic risk assessment tools to assign recidivism scores to human defendants.
It's terrifying.
The algorithm looks at their zip code, their past interactions with police, maybe their social connections, and spits out a number. This person is high risk. And a judge looks at that number and lets it influence a prison sentence.
It is the ultimate abdication of human responsibility. A statistical tool does not understand justice. It does not understand mercy.
No.
It cannot comprehend the possibility of human rehabilitation. By handing over these decisions, we are achieving the progressive externalization of our civilization's conscience.
The externalization of our conscience.
We are hollowing out the institutions designed to protect human dignity.
Which flows seamlessly into the second great confusion. Mistaking simulation for communion. We touched on this with the AI companions, but we need to talk about the social fabric. Why are we so eager to replace humans with software?
Because humans are difficult. Genuine human relationships are full of friction.
Friction. Let's talk about that. Because if you are a university student, you know exactly what relationship friction is.
You live it every day.
It's arguing with your roommate because they never do their dishes. It's the tension of having to apologize to your partner when you know you were wrong.
Yeah.
It's sitting through a painfully awkward Thanksgiving dinner with a relative whose politics you disguise.
Exactly. Misunderstandings, compromises, the requirement to suppress your own immediate desires for the sake of someone else.
Modern society views these points of friction as negative things, right? As bugs in the system, obstacles to our personal happiness that need to be optimized away.
But Thornberry flips that completely upside down.
How so?
The white paper makes a profound countercultural claim that friction is not an obstacle to community, it is the absolute substance of it.
The substance.
The emotional calluses you develop by dealing with your messy roommate are the exact same muscles you need to sustain a real marriage or to participate in a democratic society.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
The covenant of friendship is forged precisely in the fire of those difficult encounters. You learn forgiveness by having something to forgive.
But when you retreat into the arms of an AI companion or an AI therapist, all the friction is smoothed away.
It is customized entirely to your preferences.
You're the center of the universe. You were never challenged. You never have to compromise.
It is a frictionless existence. And if a generation prioritizes frictionless simulation over the demanding nature of real communion, our capacity for durable social order will evaporate.
Because we won't know how to deal with each other.
Civic communities require sacrificial presence. If we lose the appetite for friction, we just become a loose collection of isolated individuals sitting alone in our rooms, being eternally pampered by algorithms.
That is such a vivid, terrifying image, being pampered into isolation. And it brings us to the third great confusion, which I think is the most complex, but maybe the most important from a legal and societal standpoint.
Mistaking automation for moral agency.
The dissolution of moral accountability. Okay, I want to build a very specific hypothetical scenario to illustrate this because this concept blew my mind.
Lay it out.
Imagine you're a university student taking a crucial final exam online from your dorm room. The university uses an AI-powered automated proctoring software.
Very common nowadays.
You are staring at your screen, but halfway through the test, you look away toward your door because someone knocked. The AI's eye-tracking algorithm flags your eye movement as an academic integrity violation. You are automatically failed and suspended.
A scenario that is already happening, unfortunately.
Right. So you are devastated. You know you didn't cheat. You go to your professor's office to appeal. Your professor looks at you and says, "I'm sorry, I don't control the grading. It's university policy. The software flagged you, and my hands are tied."
The professor deflects accountability to the policy and the software.
Exactly. So you escalate. You go to the dean. The dean says, "We paid $3 million for this enterprise software. The vendor guarantees 99% accuracy. We have to trust the system, or the integrity of our degrees means nothing."
The dean deflects accountability to the vendor.
So you look up the vendor. The software company's PR department puts out a statement. "We simply build the architecture. We don't make individual academic decisions. The algorithm's flagging system is a complex black box neural network trained on millions of hours of testing data. Sometimes statistical anomalies happen.
The vendor deflects accountability to the algorithm and the training data.
And the data is just math. You can't put a spreadsheet on trial. So who is guilty? Who do you look in the eye?
The answer is nobody.
Nobody. Accountability has completely vaporized into the cloud.
That is the perfect illustration of what the text means when it calls AI an extraordinarily efficient instrument for the evasion of personal moral responsibility. And we have to be very clear-eyed about this. This is not an accident.
Wait, you're saying institutions actually want this?
Absolutely. It is a feature, not a bug. For massive institutions, corporations, universities, government bureaucracies, there is an immense incentive to make ruthless, efficient decisions without ever having to bear the moral blame for them.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
If a human manager fires you, they have to look you in the eye, and they can be sued for discrimination. If an algorithm terminates your employment based on a productivity metric optimization process, the corporation shrugs and blames the math.
It is the perfect corporate shield.
It provides the illusion of objective due process while entirely stripping away human accountability.
So what does this all mean for us? When you combine these three confusions, when we outsource our wisdom, when we abandon real relationships for frictionless simulation, and when our institutions use algorithms to evade moral responsibility, what does society become?
The white paper argues that it leads to something called the darkening.
The darkening.
It leads to a total epistemological collapse.
The darkening. I know it sounds like the title of a fantasy novel, but it's actually rooted in a very deep philosophical concept. The text brings in Augustine's definition of evil.
Right. Augustine argued that evil is not an independent creative force. There is no dark god creating bad things to fight the light god.
So what is it?
Evil, he argued, is a privation of the good. It is an obscuring, a corruption, or a distortion of something that was originally good.
Give me an example of a privation.
A shadow isn't a thing. It is merely the absence of light. Sickness is merely the absence of health.
So why apply this to AI?
Because we always worry about AI becoming malevolent, the classic sci-fi trope of the machine waking up, turning red, and deciding to launch the nukes.
Exactly. We worry about Skynet.
Wow.
But Thornberry points out that AI doesn't need to be consciously malevolent to be profoundly destructive.
It doesn't need to hate us.
Not at all. It just has to operate as a privation of the good. It just has to amplify our already existing human tendencies for laziness, self-deception, and our preference for comfortable illusions over difficult realities.
Think about the engagement algorithms that run our social media feeds. They aren't evil, they are just mathematically optimized for a specific telos. Keep human eyeballs on the screen.
Right. But what keeps us engaged?
Emotionally charged, highly polarizing, sensationalist, and often completely fabricated content.
Yes. The algorithm amplifies the darkest impulses of human nature, not out of malice, but out of cold, mathematical efficiency.
And this amplification accelerates into a full-blown epistemological crisis. Epistemology, the study of how we know what is true. We are entering the era of synthetic media at scale.
Deepfakes, voice cloning, AI-generated imagery. We have reached a point where algorithmic systems can manufacture realistic-seeming evidence for false claims at a civilizational level.
You can generate a video of a politician declaring war or audio of a CEO confessing to a crime with a few clicks.
It's destabilizing.
I saw a story recently where a mother got a phone call and she heard her daughter's exact voice screaming for help, saying she had been kidnapped.
That is horrific.
The scammers had cloned the daughter's voice from a 3-second clip on TikTok. It is absolute psychological terror.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the real danger of synthetic media isn't just that you or I might be tricked into believing a specific fake video.
What's the deeper danger?
The deeper civilizational danger is the complete erosion of trust.
Trust is the bedrock.
Trust is the foundational precondition for all human communication. It is the basis of institutional authority, scientific consensus, and democratic deliberation.
Because if we don't have trust, we have nothing.
If citizens reach a point where they can no longer distinguish a real photograph from a generated one, or a real human voice from a synthesized one, the foundation of societal consensus collapses.
We enter a state of pervasive skepticism.
You don't just lose the truth about a specific event, you lose the capacity to even search for the truth together.
Which is the ultimate tragic irony of the information age. We built these incomprehensibly powerful machines to help us process more information, to help us master reality.
And instead,
they are actually compromising our fundamental faculty of discernment. We are drowning in a tsunami of data, but we are collectively losing our minds. We can't see the path anymore.
A condition in which illumination is so corrupted that the faculty of discernment itself is compromised, that is the definition of the darkening.
Okay. If you are listening to this right now, I know exactly how you feel. Because when I first read this section, I felt physically heavy.
It's a lot to process.
It feels like we are passengers on a runaway train of algorithmic deception, and the bridge is out ahead. But I promise you, we are not going to leave you in despair.
No, we aren't.
This white paper does not end with nihilism. It pivots to a powerful, actionable, corrective framework.
Thornberry is explicitly clear. The answer is not to smash the machines. We are not Luddites retreating to the woods.
What is the answer?
The answer is the fierce recovery of a robust human anthropology. We have to clearly, defiantly articulate what a human being actually is, and then we must build institutional safeguards and daily habits to defend that definition.
Let's start from the top down.
Yeah.
The institutional safeguards. The white paper says leaders must establish clear, uncrossable boundaries regarding the delegation of moral decisions.
This brings us all the way back to the ontological gap. Human dignity is an ontological reality. It is a fact of fundamental being.
It is not a statistical inference.
And it cannot be reduced to a data profile. Therefore, any institution that wields power over human life must insist that human beings remain the accountable agents.
The human must remain in the loop.
Exactly. A judge cannot, under any circumstances, delegate the moral weight of a prison sentence to a risk assessment algorithm.
And in medicine.
A hospital administrator cannot surrender clinical judgment entirely to a diagnostic AI without a physician engaging with the full personhood of the patient. Institutions have to force the friction back into the system.
They have to embrace the inefficiency of human accountability.
They do.
That is a massive task for lawmakers and CEOs.
Yeah.
But let's bring it down to the ground level. Let's talk directly to the listener.
The individual habits.
Because you and I aren't rewriting the federal legal code today. But Thornberry outlines a set of epistemic disciplines. Basically, daily, actionable habits that any individual can adopt to maintain their genuine human discernment.
These are vital practices for resisting the cognitive fragmentation caused by the digital economy. The first discipline is a direct challenge to the university student. Engage with primary texts.
Yes. Listen to me. Stop asking AI to summarize your readings.
When you use an AI to summarize a complex philosophical argument or a dense piece of literature, you are only extracting the information. You are getting the bullet points.
But reading is not just data extraction.
Reading is a cognitive exercise. Wrestling with the author's syntax, getting confused, rereading a paragraph, struggling to grasp the nuance, that friction is actually what builds your intellectual muscles.
When you outsource the reading to an AI, your mind atrophies.
It really does.
It's like going to the gym and paying someone else to lift the weights for you, and then wondering why you aren't getting stronger.
Oh.
You have to do the mental lifting yourself.
A perfect analogy.
What's the second discipline?
The practice of silence, contemplation, and sustained attention.
Which is so hard today.
Our modern environment is defined by a constant, overwhelming stream of algorithmic stimulation. We are terrified of boredom, but true human wisdom requires space.
We have to disconnect.
We must actively carve out periods of time where our minds are entirely unmediated by screens, where we can encounter reality directly and process our own internal lives.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. Thornberry reframes ancient traditional practices in a totally modern light.
The spiritual disciplines.
Take the concept of the Sabbath, or the practice of fasting, or taking periods of absolute silence. Historically, we view these entirely through a religious lens. But in the AI age, the text argues that these are profound acts of anthropological resistance.
It's a striking perspective.
It is. By choosing to observe a day of rest away from screens, by choosing to fast from digital consumption, you are deliberately reasserting your humanity against the mechanical logic of the world.
You are pushing back.
You are standing up and saying, I am not a server. I do not require constant input. I am not an optimization algorithm. I am a loyal soul.
It turns taking a walk without your phone in your pocket into an act of rebellion.
It really does.
It is the reassertion of the real self against the simulated self. And that leads to the final and most important daily discipline, leaning into genuine human relationships.
Embracing the friction.
Precisely. We have to actively seek out the messy, demanding nature of real friendships, covenantal marriages, and civic participation.
We have to resist the temptation to retreat into the frictionless, highly customized comfort of simulated companions or algorithmic echo chambers.
Because according to the core philosophy of this white paper, a human being cannot become fully human in isolation.
We need each other.
We become ourselves through genuine encounter with another. Simulated intimacy starves us of this essential constitutive need.
And if we let algorithms mediate everything,
If we allow algorithms to mediate all of our relationships, smoothing out every rough edge, we will become increasingly atomized, fragile, and ultimately incapable of sustaining a civilization.
okay, let's pull all these threads together. We have covered a massive amount of ground in this deep dive.
We really have.
We started by dismantling the functionalist fallacy, that dangerous illusion that just because a machine can process language beautifully, it possesses a consciousness or a soul.
We explored the vital distinction between techne, the incredible technical skill of our modern machines, and Sophia, the moral, lived wisdom that only a human person oriented toward the good can possess.
We use the diagnostic framework of light, life, and love to clearly identify what we risk losing when we blur those lines. We saw how outsourcing our moral agency creates a world where institutions wield power without any human accountability.
We explored how relying on simulated intimacy destroys the friction required to build strong social fabrics.
And we confronted the darkening, the epistemological crisis where deepfakes and algorithmic amplification erode the fundamental trust that holds society together.
But we also illuminated the path forward.
We did. By establishing hard institutional boundaries, engaging in the mental heavy lifting of reading primary texts, practicing the rebellion of silence, and committing ourselves to the beautiful, difficult friction of real human relationships.
The central thesis of the white paper stands as a warning and a guide. Civilization must name what it has made. It must understand what it has not made, and it must absolutely refuse to surrender to the machine what belongs irreducibly to the living human person.
I couldn't say it better. So as we close this out, I want to leave you, the listener, with one final provocative thought.
Something to reflect on.
I want you to think about your day tomorrow. Sometime tomorrow, you are inevitably going to reach for an AI tool. Maybe you're going to ask it to summarize a difficult chapter for a class.
Or draft an email.
Maybe you're going to use it to draft a sensitive emotional text message to a friend you are arguing with. Or maybe you'll just use it to hyper-optimize your calendar.
A completely routine action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you move your mouse to click that button, I want you to pause for just 1 second. Ask yourself, in this specific moment, am I merely delegating a mechanical task? Or am I subtly, quietly outsourcing a piece of my own character formation?
Are you handing over the friction?
Am I handing over the exact friction that is meant to forge my own wisdom?
It is a question of profound importance for the preservation of the human spirit.
It really is. Remember the author's final striking assertion. Algorithms can optimize our behavior. They can maximize our efficiency. But they cannot form our character.
Ooh.
And no machine, regardless of its parameter count or its sophistication, can do what only love can do. Give itself, genuinely, vulnerably, and irreversibly for the sake of the beloved. Don't let a calculator tell you what broken heart feels like. Keep your wisdom human.